So as we begin to wind down this milestone forum, what better way to set our sights on the future than perspective on how we drive regional growth through ethics, transparency, and good governance, with a particular eye towards the 9th Summit of the Americas. To help us achieve this, I have with me here in Washington, D.C., I'll introduce Lynn Costa, Senior Advisor for the Western Hemisphere at the U.S. Department of Commerce. After the conclusion of this series of remarks, we will then have a few parting words from Carlos Gouvea of CBDL and the Health Ethics Institute in Brazil. So Lynn, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our next speakers.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone, and my hearty congratulations to Brazil for the consensus framework, as well as championing such a wonderful, robust event. In closing, there will be 2 speakers. The first will be Deputy Assistant Secretary Ian Saunders. The second will be Mr. Dale Eppler, who is the U.S. National Director for the next Summit of Americas. So in starting, Das Saunders, in addition to managing our large headquarters staff, he oversees a network of 24 field offices throughout the hemisphere, where he is responsible for developing programs, policies, and strategies to increase trade for companies of all sizes in our hemisphere. Prior to joining Commerce in 2020, Das Saunders served as Assistant Commissioner for International Affairs at U.S. Customs and Border Protection, where he led the coordination of all programs and initiatives of CBP's international strategies, programs, and activities. Needless to say, he knows quite a bit about how goods move efficiently through customs around the world. Prior to his years at CBP, he spent 8 years as the Director of International Programs at the Federal Highway Administration, where he led the agency's information sharing and global technology exchange activities. He is a steadfast champion of ethics and compliance. We were so lucky that he was selected as our DAS in early 2020, and I am truly honored to work for him. Please take the virtual floor, Das Saunders.
Good afternoon, Lynn. Thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you all for the opportunity to join you for this session. I'm so pleased to be part of this final session of this landmark America's Healthcare Forum. It's really an incredible and impressive event. The topic that you've been exploring over the past 2 days is most timely, as our region continues to grapple with the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. At no other point in time has the value of ethics in the healthcare sector been clearer. It goes directly to the confidence that we all need and deserve to have in healthcare. And this is a universal issue and an opportunity to bring a wide spectrum of stakeholders and contributors into this conversation. Every one of us is touched by the issue of quality and honesty in healthcare. Consumers, providers, regulators, and intermediaries all have important perspectives to bring. And it's gratifying to have experienced an event in which representatives of all of these groups have come together for a common goal. Coming together to advance common goals is something that isn't new for the Americas. Shared principles are part of what has defined and fortified relationships within our region for many decades. Principles of openness, respect, and the desire for progress among our people are foundational to many approaches our countries have taken individually and collectively in the region. This business ethics initiative reflects some of our best shared principles and shows the ability of government and the private sector, inarguably 2 of our most powerful forces, to pursue great things together. I'm grateful for the presence of the government representatives that have participated, given time and commitment to this endeavor, and in particular, want to acknowledge and congratulate my colleagues in the Brazilian government for their leadership and incredible progress on this front. I'm equally grateful for the many and varied contributions of our private sector colleagues, from the pathfinding titans of industry with deep experience with this work, to the newer, smaller companies whose creativity and innovation keep propelling the sector forward. Everyone participating should be proud of this launch event, proud of its breadth and depth, proud of its geographic reach, and proud of the prospect of positive results that it can bring to our region. The various sessions within the forum provide a foundation for deepening technical work and broadening country participation so that hopefully more of the Americas can move forward toward institutionalizing ethics within their approaches to healthcare. But I'm cognizant that the results of this forum require more than technical capacity and attention to be realized. They also require political investment. And so ending with a thought that I started with, I return to the point that this event is indeed most timely. There is an important prospect on the horizon for elevating this effort within the collective consciousness of our leaders. An opportunity to position this initiative as an example showing that the Americas can come together to address the challenges of the day. And to speak to this idea in more depth, I'm happy to yield the virtual floor to my colleague, Dale Eppler, with my thanks and congratulations to all of you for this groundbreaking America's Healthcare Forum.
Our second speaker, which was referenced by Saunders, is an incredible person that has a big job ahead. It is Mr. Dale Eppler, the U.S. National Summit Coordinator for the Summit of Americas at the U.S. Department of State. Mr. Eppler has served as the Acting Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Western Hemisphere with a focus on Mexico and Cuba. He served as Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in Santiago, Chile, as the Chief of Energy, Climate Change, and Environment Unit at the U.S. Mission to the European Union, Economic Counselor in both Baghdad and Ankara, Consul General and Financial Economist in Buenos Aires, Deputy Treasury Attaché in Moscow, and Director for Central America and the Caribbean in the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative. It is such an impressive background and of experience and work that I am confident that I can say we're in good hands for the Summit of the Americas that will be hosted by the U.S. next year. Please take the virtual floor, Mr. Eppler.
Thank you very much, Lynn, for that very warm welcome. And it's really a pleasure to be here, and I want to say thank you to all of the prior speakers for a chance to hear your ideas and your thoughts on this very important topic. I want to talk a little bit about the summit and about where healthcare fits into it. And of course, I have to start with the pandemic. We recognize, obviously, that this summit is taking place in a very different context than the summit in Lima in 2018. The pandemic has changed everything, and that includes the summit. You may have seen the announcement from the White House last week about the timing for the summit, the 9th Summit of the Americas, which will be in early summer of 2022, next summer. And I was immediately, as soon as the announcement came out, I received many requests to say, well, exactly which dates in early summer. And there's some flexibility built in there because the next stage is to launch a selection process for the city, which will host the summit. And the exact dates will depend on the availability of facilities in that city. So that process is ongoing, and there should be a Federal Register notice coming out about that in the next few days. Another process that's been going on, and this forum is a part of that, is a consultation process. We've been having a lot of discussions around the hemisphere with civil society, with the private sector, with other governments, and to get the best ideas that we can about what issues need to be addressed at the Leaders Summit. And so, the work that you're all doing to enhance transparency and ethics around healthcare really couldn't happen at a more important time or carry more significance than they are right now. I should point out that on the summit theme issue, we have, because of the pandemic and other crises, we have more than enough issues to choose from. And there is an ongoing process within the US government to decide to narrow those down and decide exactly which issues will go up to leaders. That said, it's really hard for me to imagine a gathering of the Hemisphere's leaders in the next 9 or 10 months, which does not address the pandemic and the crisis in the healthcare sector in some way. I can't tell you how it's going to be dealt with or how it's going to be addressed, but almost everything we talk about, from the crisis of democracy or the economic issues, all relate back to the pandemic and the healthcare sector. So again, the work you're doing really, really, really is incredibly important. I suppose it will surprise absolutely none of you that in all the consultations we've had, whether it's with civil society or private sector or with governments, healthcare comes up repeatedly. And one of the things that's most striking about that is the diversity of groups around the hemisphere that have raised similar views on this. And I can talk about civil society groups in Peru and trade associations in Honduras and governments in the Caribbean, and many of the same issues come up. So again, this is one of these things where the pandemic is driving a real assessment of the needs of the healthcare sector across the hemisphere. We've heard many voices stressing the need for equitable access to healthcare, health information, procurement transparency, and enhanced health system efficiency. So also, regional pandemic and disaster recovery and resilience are going to be at the forefront of all of our conversations. And I can assure you that the White House has been made aware of this stakeholder input, and as it decides what the summit's policy focus is going to be, and we will continue to make sure that they are kept apprised of all of your thoughts on what the hemisphere needs in the healthcare area. Summits are really valuable when they answer these big questions, I think. First, what solutions benefit from being elevated up to the leaders at a summit? And second, what challenges can only be addressed by leaders who are committing to take joint action? And third, how can we ensure that we're being held accountable for the commitments that the governments are making? So we have a lot of work ahead of us to put on a successful 9th Summit of the Americas. We want one that delivers real results for the people of the region. Again, I think healthcare in many different ways will end up at the forefront or at the center of a lot of those discussions. Clearly, it's going to take the entire hemisphere, government, civil society, private sector, committed to working together to deliver real positive change for the region to advance forward. So we're really looking forward to working with all of you in the months ahead, and we hope you will help us and work with us to shape the dialogue as it goes forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dale, for taking the time to be with the forum today and for your leadership. And also, of course, thank you so much, Deputy Assistant Secretary Saunders, for you and your entire team's leadership. And thank you also, Lynn, for all the championship that you've given to this work for so many years and will continue to do so. Now to close, and as our last speaker of the day, I'd like to turn the floor over to our good colleague and friend, Carlos Gouvea, of both CBDL and the Health Ethics Institute, to say a few parting words. Carlos, over to you, and congratulations again on the launch of the Brazilian Consensus Framework yesterday.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. Bom, esse evento tem sido uma grande surpresa positiva. Conseguimos conquistar diversos aspectos que talvez nem esperássemos antes quando começamos a planejá-lo. Tivemos aqui quase 5 ministros ou deputy ministers, representando diversos governos. O Brasil fortemente estava representado. Tivemos reguladores de diferentes países, reguladores com grande experiência, compartilhando suas informações e até ideias sobre o futuro. Governos, como pudemos ver, com diversos oficiais diferentes, trazendo também um pouco da esperança e da luz que todos queremos para um futuro mais ético e com integridade. As associações aí de pacientes, de indústria, de profissionais de saúde, todas elas representadas também trazendo o seu reforço a essa grande batalha. A academia, não menos importante, conseguiu assinar um grande acordo de cooperação entre a IACA e a própria FGV. Acho que isso significará um grande avanço no futuro para vários dos esforços que temos feito, principalmente na questão de educação. A área de finanças, através do Banco Mundial, do IFC e do BID, ela, não menos importante, também trouxe um pouco o seu olhar, mostrando que é fundamental para se ter a correta troca de mercadorias na área de saúde, de forma equânime, de forma adequada e permitindo o acesso a pacientes à nova tecnologia que está sendo desenvolvida enquanto a gente fala, ela só vai acontecer se, de fato, nós tivermos condições adequadas para o comércio, de forma honesta, correta, ética e através do livre comércio. E, não menos importante, os pacientes que puderam trazer as suas vozes aqui e tem que estar no centro da nossa atenção. Eu tenho certeza de que o marco de consenso que nós assinamos aqui no Brasil, de forma oficial e através do esforço e reforço do nosso ministro da Saúde, com o apoio da CGU, com o apoio do Ministério da Economia e tantas outras entidades com as quais nós temos acordos de cooperação assinados e em voga, vão ajudar o Instituto Ética Saúde, que representa e une aí os diferentes elos da cadeia de valor do nosso segmento, a avançar. E avançar com o apoio de todos vocês. Na verdade, o nosso objetivo final é sempre o paciente, mas levando a ele de forma ética, de forma íntegra, o melhor produto possível. É só assim que a gente pode, de fato, avançar. E em torno desse nosso evento, foram 2 dias, com uma grande atividade no backstage. Eu queria aqui deixar os meus agradecimentos a toda a equipe que trabalhou, seja em Brasília, seja aqui em São Paulo, em Washington, em várias partes do mundo. E aí, através do Andrew e da Lynn Costa, agradecer ao incansável esforço e trabalho. O Andrew simplesmente não dormia, ele simplesmente vira o relógio, com todas as diferentes horas de zona, time zones diferentes, ele acabou sempre dando uma resposta muito rápida, efetiva, tornando esse evento possível. Então, Andrew, thanks a lot for your special effort in this, making this possible. And Lynn Costa, to you as well, that you have foreseen this a long time ago and put all energy also for this to make it viable. Então, eu concluo aqui, devolvendo a palavra para o Andrew, agradecendo ao esforço de todos, envolvimento, lembrando que só através dessa união de todos no nosso segmento é que nós vamos conseguir, de fato, avançar. Existe um ditado em português, que é: uma andorinha sozinha não faz o verão. E sim, todas juntas podem mudar muita coisa. E é isso que a gente espera. Andrew, back to you, and thanks a lot for the opportunity to be taking part in this so fantastic and impressive event. It has been a great honor for me.
Thank you so much, Carlos. And I could say the same wonderful things about you and all of the different leaders and stakeholders in Brazil. So thank you. As Carlos said, that concludes today's forum. Congratulations to the nearly 1,000 delegates, speakers, and other attendees who've joined us for this milestone event for nearly 11 hours of thought-provoking content. So we're truly appreciative of that, both on the discussion sides that were had as well as the announcements. We hope this forum has not only served as a resource to you, but has inspired your organization to pursue greater collective action to reinforce ethics and business integrity across the Americas health systems. Please stay in touch as the journey has only just begun. We wish you and your families and your colleagues well, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.